RTE Soccer Women's World Cup podcast, sponsored by Cadbury. For grassroots to national level, a supporter and a half of women's football in Ireland.
Turn the world round, shut the show down. I've been spinning, couldn't slow down. On the road now.
You have to get up pretty early in the morning to watch a Vera Pauw press conference at this World Cup, and sometimes you wonder whether it was really worthwhile. Two people who didn't have to get up early to watch it because they're actually in the same time zone as Vera Pauw, coincidentally, are Emma Duffy of the 42 and our own Anthony Pyne. How are you doing, lads?
Good.
All good, Mikey.
Good.
How are you?
I'm grand. It's, I feel like I'm being interviewed or something here. And it's, the two of you on the same screen and little old me all on my own. For those of you listening, usually our guests appear on their own Zooms with their own screen, but Anthony and Emma are perched beside each other in the stadium in Brisbane on the one Zoom account. So it's a little bit different. It's okay. I'd just like to say I work well in a team, but I'm also very self-motivated, and I really think if you give me this position, I'll do my best at it. Let's see, this press conference, Anthony. It's fair to say it was less about a match which for Ireland is a dead rubber, but for Nigeria is very important, and the narrative seems to have swung really towards what happens next for Ireland upon their return to the old sod.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a situation that's sort of been brewing for the last almost 2 months, really. Like in early June, Vera Pauw was asked about her contract, which expires. We don't know the exact date, but it expires after the World Cup. So let's assume after the day of the World Cup final, which is the 20th of August. But we're in the last couple of weeks of her current deal. She had said in June, before the Zambia game, that she was hopeful that she would sign a new deal and that it would get sorted before the World Cup, and that her representative was in talks with the FAI at that time. But those talks have seemingly stalled, and we're in a situation now where Ireland are, last game is tomorrow here at this great stadium in Brisbane, Suncorp Stadium. They're out. They can't progress to the last 16. And we have no idea that when Ireland come back to Dublin, and there's a planned homecoming, I think, on Thursday on O'Connell Street, we don't know if Vera Pauw will still be the manager. Now, I don't know if there'll be an announcement before that, but certainly in the days afterwards, we'll have to hear something. She has been asked about it quite a lot the last couple of days. I mean, myself and Emma were part of the press pack that sat down with her yesterday in the team hotel, and it came up then, and again, it came up today at the press conference. And she can't offer any clarity on it because she hasn't got any from the FBI. So we really just have to watch this space. But the sense is that it's not looking great for her. You would think, well, if she was going to be offered a new deal, this would be done and dusted at this stage. So we would assume that the FAI are planning to kind of have a review of the World Cup when everybody gets back to Ireland, back to Dublin.
FAI love a review.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe they'll chat to some of the players as part of that review, and we'll get some white smoke maybe in the next 10 days or something like that. But at the minute, nobody seems to know anything definitive, including obviously Vera Pauw. So we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, Emma, it's been a difficult few months, kind of almost counterintuitively for Vera Pauw. She's qualified for her first World Cup. Obviously, the investigation in the United States and the findings against her, and then subsequent kind of follow-ups on that when the Athletic, which came like the week before the World Cup, that wasn't helpful. There was obviously the issues around the Colombia game, which kind of pale in comparison, but there were issues there. There was the celebrations after Scotland, which was obviously Pauw was praised for how she dealt with that so quickly and so decisively. But there was a sense here that any manager coming into a World Cup when their contract is running down, I'm just wondering, there was a sense that, this might have been her last hurrah. What do you think she would have needed to do at this World Cup to perhaps, make that review next week or the week after more positive, shall we say?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Mikey, because I don't know, to me, it's felt like this could have been it regardless of what happens in Australia. But then obviously results tell a tale, and it would have been interesting to see what the story would be had Ireland gone out and got results under their belt. Obviously a win or a draw tomorrow could potentially boost her chances heading into this review, which Anthony has mentioned. But I do think the writing has kind of been on the wall. It feels like it is coming to a bit of a close. But yeah, as we say, it remains to be seen. We can't speak too much about it either because there's so much uncertainty around it. But even just from the press conference today, and even the demeanour of herself and Megan Connolly beside her, and from the players that we spoke to in the hotel yesterday, it does feel like this is it really. So yeah, time will tell. Obviously, it all does remain to be seen. It'll be interesting to see post-match tomorrow what happens. But I suppose there's a big game to be played yet, and we can't lose sight of that either.
Yeah, just listen to a little bit of the press conference here. The first question here was Tony O'Donoghue asking Vera Pauw if she thought it was, was it fair that, she was still awaiting kind of some clarity from the FAI, and her response was simply the word no. So here's Tony's follow-up question to Vera Pauw and to Megan Connolly.
Are you concerned that do you feel you have the backing of the players, and is it important that you do have the backing of your players?
I think we have a fantastic bond in our team, and that has showed all over the 4 years. We have a fantastic game tomorrow to play. Nigeria is, they are ranked 52, but we all agree now that at least that you see what I said before, that they are so strong. They're physically strong, they're skillful, extremely fast. So there's a huge task on our plate. And what I said yesterday also, I want to concentrate on that game, because that game is crucial for us, for our feeling, for our pride, and for the tournament.
Megan, can I ask you then, is it unfair that the players have been asked about their view of the manager's future?
I mean, I can't really speak personally on that. Obviously, it's not my decision. I think what we've achieved in the past 2-3 years under Vera has been amazing, and I think she helped us get to this point, and I can only speak on my own personal experience, and Vera has been great for me, but that's not my decision.
So Anthony, you probably might have had a good idea of what Megan Connolly was going to say there before she spoke into the microphone. As you mentioned in your piece on the RT website today, you spoken to 4 players about Vera Pauw's future, and they all gave remarkably similar answers, and Megan Connolly's answer didn't break from the template, shall we say.
No, and actually, if Katie McCabe before the France game was asked at that press conference, and she was sitting beside Vera Pauw, and she was asked, "Would you like Vera to stay on?" And it was a similar thing where, I think she said something along the lines of, me and Vera, sometimes we've clashed, but we want to do our best for Ireland, and we're professional, and just want to get results, and it's not my decision. It's not my decision that. So she did not definitively back her. And none of the 4 players we spoke to yesterday definitively backed her. And I think Megan Connolly today actually got as close as a public backing that she's got. And because I think, I don't know if we have the exact quote to hand, but she did thank Vera Pauw and said she'd had great times under Vera Pauw. That's as abusive as praises the manager has received publicly from the players. Now, look, it's dangerous to make assumptions and to join dots here. These players are here they've got a big game tomorrow, as Emma said, and it is a big game. Ireland can't progress, but Nigeria can, and Australia and Canada will be keeping a very, very close eye on this match. There's integrity and professionalism involved here, and they will take that very seriously, and they want to get their first point on the board at a World Cup. So it's fair enough that, they don't want to get dragged into sort of making declarations about our future, and if that's the consensus among them, that's fair enough, and we have to respect that. So, as I said, it'd be dangerous to start making assumptions around the fact that they're not coming out and saying we'd love her to stay, and they're holding their counsel. But it is just a fact that none of the players have actually come out and said straight up, "I'd love to see her stay on. She's been great. She's taken us to a World Cup." I mean, that is just a fact. But look, as Emma says, like we don't. There's no clarity on this yet. We just have to wait, and it will only be after the game where we start to get a full picture of what's actually going to happen. The sense is that they want to get this game played, done. They fly back on Tuesday night. They leave here on Tuesday night. back to Dublin, and towards the later part of this week we'll probably get more of an idea. And of course they do have that homecoming, I think, on Thursday as well. So
that's true. Yeah, and the other thing, Emma, is that the players really they can make their voice heard here, but it's probably not going to be the one that counts, and that's a reality across the board in sport. Just a recent example was I'm a Wexford man, the Wexford hurling team. Any players who were asked about Dara Egan in the aftermath of what was a pretty awful championship, they all said they loved him, they wanted him to stay on, he was doing great work, and cue the county board giving him the bullet a couple of months later. Like, the players can have a voice here, but it's it's probably not it's not going to be the primary consideration whether the players like the manager or think she should stay on or not, because that's not really how professional sports works. I guess the FAI are going to make their decision on any number of factors, but what the players think may be one of those factors, but it certainly wouldn't be the deciding one, you wouldn't think.
Yeah, absolutely. And ultimately that is the case. Like Anthony was saying there, they just weren't drawn into talk on our future. I suppose language is so important in situations like this. And basically, just to quote, I guess, briefly what Louise Quinn, Lucy Quinn, Lily Agg and Ciara Crusoe said yesterday, like they were just speaking about focusing on a big game on Monday, and they haven't thought past that. And the same with Connolly today. She did say something along the lines of, Vera has been amazing for me, but that's not my decision. So yeah, look, that's it at the end of the day. They're professionals, they have a game to play, and that is going to be the focus no matter what's going on outside. And obviously there is plenty of talk, but I don't think they'll buy into that. They'll be going out hoping to end their World Cup journey and their first ever major tournament on a high and with some points on the board.
I'm sorry, we should note as well that like the two performances over here have been pretty good. Like we can talk about limitations, and there's not a huge amount of goals in this team, and some people might think that the approach is overly defensive. But that approach has got Ireland to this World Cup, and they were a penalty kick away from getting something out of Australia. For the first half against Canada, I wouldn't say they played them off the park. That's probably gone a little bit over the top, but they were certainly the better team. They were excellent, really excellent. I think that's as good. And we're chatting amongst ourselves. I don't think any of us have seen Ireland play better than that in the Vera Pauw era. And that's probably one of the strongest team performances we've seen, full stop, from an Ireland women's team in that first 45 minutes, more or less. Unfortunately, they tailed off, and when they fall behind, they're a team that finds it very difficult to chase games. So it's not like we're not seeing broken performances. We're not seeing a team that's not playing for the manager, and I think we probably should note that as well. Like they haven't been that far off, but they are in a tough group, and they've got another really tough game tomorrow against a very good side who are fourth seeds in the group, but their ranking is completely deceptive. They're Nigeria should not be. They're 40th in the world. That's their ranking. Ireland are 22nd. There's no way they should be 40th. The only reason they are is because they don't get to play many teams outside of Africa, and therefore the way the ranking system works, the only way you can get points is by playing better teams, making results out of better teams. They don't get the opportunity to do that, and that's why they're 40th in the world. That's why they're fourth seeds, and in our group we were unfortunate enough to get them. But these are a really good team. It's another major test for Ireland here tomorrow night.
Yeah, that was going to be my next point, Emma, that I think you could look at world rankings, and you could look at the kind of the past records and the awards and cups won by the teams in our group, and it's pretty tough. I don't think we really realised what a pig of a group we were really given. Just watching Morocco and South Korea this morning, it was quite an entertaining game, but I would say neither team are close to the level of the other three teams in our group. And then you've got Colombia in that group, and admittedly Germany. The USA, Netherlands, Portugal, that's a pretty rough group. England, Denmark, China. There are other tough groups, but it really does feel like our luck deserted us for that draw in Auckland there a few months ago.
Absolutely, and luck had been on Ireland's side for so long. Earlier in the campaign, I guess, even thinking back to the way the results fell and going into the playoff against Scotland, and that they didn't have to go to the playoff tournament
Yeah.
down here first.
Different federations. Yeah.
So feels like a long time ago now.
It does, yeah.
But that they could qualify directly for the tournament. Everything kind of felt like it fell into place for Ireland up to that point. But yeah, look, that's sport, isn't it? Sometimes luck's on your side, sometimes it's not, and it wasn't in terms of the draw. But I don't think that has affected the group. It has affected the squad at all. You know, they played what was in front of them, and they gave a really good account of themselves, as Anthony said, against two of the top teams in the world so far. And then they play against Nigeria now tomorrow here, which is a huge challenge, and really exciting team to watch. A little bit chaotic at times, so I'm really interested to see what kind of game unfolds here. Like it could go anyway. But yeah, Nigeria have obviously made a huge splash at the tournament so far with the 0-0 draw with Canada, and then that win over Australia, which was pretty amazing to watch. And obviously the other big game in the group tomorrow night at the exact same time, Australia Canada. It will be interesting to see what happens there, and because it looks like potentially heavyweight could be going home, or the surprise package so far maybe.
Yeah, well, let's look at it briefly before we look at Ireland, because obviously it is a very interesting group. Nigeria and Canada on 4 points, goal difference of +1 each. Australia 3 points, and Ireland obviously no points and out of the running. A draw will be good enough for Nigeria by my maths, because obviously neither Canada and Australia can't both get 3 points, and Australia basically need a win, Anthony. Anything less than a win for Australia, and they're goosed more than likely. So it's going to be a very tense evening, really, with Ireland the only team kind of who can play in a slightly free-spirited manner, even though I understand totally Vera Pauw and Megan Connolly were both at pains to say today that both for their own sake and for the sake of the tournament, they have no intention of throwing in the towel here. And I don't think anybody was suggesting for a second they would. I would say their desperation to, make a mark, score some points is as great as it would be if they were still in with a chance of progressing.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they're anticipating in and around 22,000 here. This stadium holds about 50, and the vast majority of that crowd will be Ireland supporters. And there was a fan event in Brisbane here earlier today. Katie McCabe and Vera Pauw attended that, and it was a great turnout for that. And there's a genuine and deep connection to that fan base from the players' point of view. They have a lot of family and friends here. They really appreciate it. And I have to say, Ireland have got, I don't think there's not many countries here that have been given the support that Ireland have got here. Greeted at the airport, brilliant turnout in Sydney. Most of the stadium in Perth was green. So there's all that, and they'll be very keen to repay that, I'm sure. And I've no doubt they'll go out and deliver. They'll make it difficult for Nigeria. Like I think I would predict a draw tomorrow night. I think Ireland will dig in and make it tough. And as we mentioned, a draw would do Nigeria. So I'm going to say a 0-0 draw or a 1-1 draw here tomorrow evening. And then over in Melbourne, when Australia play Canada, like that's an absolutely giant occasion. Like, Australia are under massive pressure. I was here for the Australia-Nigeria match, which Nigeria won 3-2 last Thursday, and they were stunned. The fans who were absolutely stunned. They couldn't believe it. They went 1-0 up. I think everybody expected a routine win. And Nigeria, were outstanding in the second half, particularly Bra Lashuala off the bench. She changed the game. They've got loads of pace and quality and composure. They're well organised, and they're a good side. And yeah, as Emma says, there's more than a good chance that one of those big guns, Canada or Australia, is gonna tumble here. But I think Australia are under major pressure. Co-hosts like Sam Kerr, I think, is back, but kind of like you're thinking, are they rushing her back? Are they rushing her back now? Like a calf issue that left her out of the first two games. She said that she will play some part, but hasn't committed to whether she's fit enough to start. So you're thinking, how fit is she? Is the manager Tony Gustavin, is he feeling under a lot of pressure just to get her back into the team? He took a big gamble on Kia Simon. She's not fully fit. She's in the squad recovering from an ACL injury, but she wouldn't be fit until the knockout stages. And he brought her with that. He made that gamble. Mary Fowler suffered a concussion. She missed the Nigeria match. She will be back on Monday as well. So they're under a hell of a lot of pressure to get a result. So yeah, it should be real intriguing actually on Monday night here. Especially two games kicking off at the same time. No doubt there'll be old school radios to the ears in Melbourne, tuning into what's happening here.
Absolutely, it would be a bit of a disaster for the tournament. Were Australia to go out, New Zealand obviously are fighting for their survival as well. Norway are 1-0 up on the Philippines, and New Zealand and Switzerland are 0-0 at the moment. So if the two hosts were to go out in the space of 24 hours, that would be, or close enough to 24 hours, that wouldn't be good. Just I mentioned before that Vera Pauw and Megan Connolly both wanted to make a point about getting a point.
Again, I can repeat, we have a huge responsibility to the tournament, to ourselves, to the nation, to FIFA, to the association, to bring on the best performance ever. So if we put players on who haven't had made minutes yet, the game will only show that. That is not the plan. The plan is to go with the strongest team and to compete and do our sportive duty in the best way possible that we can.
I think obviously coming into this tournament, we knew how tough it was going to be with the level of opponent that we were going to play. I think within the group, we had that belief that we know that we can compete against the best teams, and obviously we wanted to get out of the group. There's no question about that. We wanted that. But yes, coming away from this tournament, we want to come away with some points. You know, we want to continue to put on performances and make everyone proud, and again show the world that, you know, this is our first tournament, but hopefully not our last. We want to be here every tournament. We want to continue with that. So yeah, I think tomorrow we're going to put on a good performance, hopefully, and yeah, go home with points is what we want. And yeah. Okay,
so that was Megan Connolly and Vera Pauw at this morning's press conference. You get the impression from Vera Pauw, Emma, that probably not a whole lot of changes to the starting 11.
No, I don't think so. I suppose the big question mark is Heather Pyne. She had been struggling with a tight hamstring in the build-up to the Canada game. Suppose then she was due to start, and forced to pull out in the warm-up. So I suppose the question is whether she will be included. Pauw seemed pretty hopeful earlier, and the FAI, I believe, have just sent out a match preview saying that we just get it here. Heather Pyne has been making progress on her return to play protocol following a hamstring injury and should be available for selection. But again, it's a muscle injury, it could be a risk. I'm not sure if it's necessarily worth it, given it's one game, and I suppose Pyne is due to secure a move now over the next few weeks, you know, turn professional, that kind of thing. She's spoken about it quite a lot in the build up to the tournament, so I'm not sure if that will be a big risk. And then in terms of other changes, Pauw said she's going to play her strongest 11, and then I guess there's just whether it'll go the same as before, or if, you know, certain players may need to be rested. It's been a pretty intense schedule, a lot of travel, two really tough games in quick succession. So the question mark is whether, I suppose, we'll see the same personnel. One could potentially be Lily Agg coming in. I think that could be a possibility. Rita Littlejohn has had two fantastic games so far, I think, but has struggled with her Achilles. So I don't know if she will be involved or not. I'm just going off instinct here myself. But yeah, I think strongest 11 is the word out of the camp, and the big one is whether Heather Pyne will be involved or not.
Yeah, I suppose, Anthony, in a way you do feel for the players to go all the way, you know, kind of give up 7-8 weeks of their life to be kind of closeted in a camp, and you know, not to see any football. You know, your sub goalkeepers, etc. Probably that's a lot of a sub goalkeeper. They're probably not too upset, but you know, the likes of you know, Diane Caldwell, Chloe Masaki, Claire O'Riordan, you know, it would hurt them, but at the same time, they know their manager well enough, and Vera Pauw, I don't think for a competitive game has ever done anything but choose her strongest 11, and she's not going to change that for Nigeria.
No, I mean, it's true. Like, there was such fanfare about the squad announcement, and we were analysing and poring over who's going to make it. And you know, ultimately, I think by the end of this competition or this tournament, Ireland may have only used like maybe 14, 15 players. And yeah, it is. I mean, that is her tendency, is that she knows what she wants. She sticks with it. I think possibly the only other change, maybe Abby Larkin.
Potentially.
Maybe Abby Larkin
Mhm.
from the start. Lucy Quinn got taken off at half time. And that
That was a very
was,
odd decision because she was playing well, so it would seem it would be
yeah.
compounding an odd decision to leave her out then, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, I thought she was doing really well, but Vera Pauw said she wanted something a little different on the right, and she brought in Abby Larkin. She made that change at half time, so maybe we'll see Abby from the start, and then bar that it will be as you were. And yeah, look, of course, the players who were here, they want to play, of course they do, and actually want to be involved and get on the pitch. But look, it's tournament football. It's part and parcel of it. Frustrating as it is, we're not going to see wholesale changes, you know, just to give people a run out. She absolutely, I mean, she railed against that explicitly, really, today and yesterday when we were chatting to her. Like, this is a game she's taking extremely seriously. They want a result, you know, they want to be able to go home with something to show for from this World Cup. And first point on the board, first win, hopefully. You know, that is still a good card for the team.
Yeah, it's no the song remains the same, Emma, for the men's team and the women's team. It's where do goals come from is really the question with this Ireland team, and I think Kira Caruso earned a lot of fans, I think, against Canada, particularly in that first half. She was excellent, and she was very unlucky not to score a goal, but she's also probably the first one. She's not an out and out striker. You know, it does seem like if it's not a set piece, you're relying on kind of Katie McCabe or Denise O'Sullivan from distance. You know, that's neither through style of play nor personnel do you think goals are guaranteed with this Irish team, and that is the issue, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's the harsh reality of it, I guess. Like, we were chatting in the press room earlier, and I think was it 3 goals in 2020? Sorry, 4 goals, 3 against Zambia, and then
Yeah.
Katie's corner the other night. So 4 goals from how many games is it now?
And none from open play.
That's
Yeah.
the point I was getting to. Yeah, so that's in 2023, none from open play. They've all come from directly from a set piece or off the back of one.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just fact of the matter. And it's difficult to see how one may come from open play, but like I was saying earlier, I don't know, tomorrow could be a little bit of an unpredictable game. We obviously saw the first half against Canada, how Ireland went out and let the shackles off at times, played with freedom. You'd hope to see a little bit more of that tomorrow, but it could turn into a mad open game. So obviously that would be great bit of crack for us, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure Ireland will really go down that route. But yeah, that's definitely one big talking point, and it has been for so long. Where the goals are going to come from, and it feels like just a recurrent theme, I guess, within the squad, within the team. It's been an issue for quite some time now. Just the final third, like,
Yeah,
just letting themselves down with mistakes, and yeah, it's frustrating. And if it's frustrating for us, I can't imagine what it is for them. But you'd hope that, I suppose, tomorrow night can be the start of that, maybe turn around in that sense. Like you said, Caruso has been really, really good. I thought she was excellent, particularly in that first half against Canada. Showed well against Australia as well. But yeah, then it always comes back to the Katie McCabe question, doesn't it? Why is our best playing where she is? But there's no other choice in the matter, really, I don't think. But hope that she can get a little bit further up the field again tomorrow night and go out with a bang.
The catch that she has here, she's committed to playing 5 at the back, and has said, and gone on record as saying that the reason for that is because our defenders lack pace, and that means you have to play deep. Now, Ireland don't just lack pace at the back line, they don't really have any raw pace in the top third either. You know, if you had an absolute flyer up top, as Nigeria do, if you sit deep, you can sucker teams by just playing it direct and just a simple ball over the top and catch teams out. We don't have that. Carusa who was very good against Canada, excellent at holding the ball up, bringing other players into play, but she's not particularly quick. And I think it's no coincidence that Ireland did make some openings against Canada, certainly more than we've seen in recent times, probably more than we saw against the USA or France or Australia. It was because they played higher up the pitch, like they forced the issue higher up the pitch, and the likes of Sinead Farrelly, Denise O'Sullivan, and Katie McCabe were able to get on the ball in the opposition half. But when they start to retreat, it just becomes harder and harder for them to do that. Instead of Sinead Farrelly getting the ball 10 yards inside the opposition half, she's getting it 20 yards inside her own half. And as good a player she is, she can't create from there. And even she's nothing really ahead of her. That's the catch that we're in with at the moment. Like, very solid and sound defensively, but only because we play so deep in that low block. And then when we do fall behind, we really struggle to flick that switch and ask questions of other teams. It's no easy answer, but I think for anybody watching Ireland, they'll it's fairly obvious. Like, that's the type of team that they are.
Yeah. Nigeria have been excellent, as you say, a little bit unpredictable. I think, but I would say we can probably predict a fairly even match. No match in this group has been decided by more than one goal. The Ireland-Canada game, interestingly, was the first game of the tournament where both teams scored in a match. There have been 5 games in this tournament where both teams have scored in a match, and 2 of them have come in our group. So it has been quite tightly contested. It's a good stat, isn't it?
Yeah,
so it has been tightly contested. So I think Ireland fans hoping for something. I think we can hope for a competitive match at least, and I think a fair bit of drama in Group B in general, with these 2 matches down for decision simultaneously.
Yeah, I think so. And like, even just from what I have seen in Nigeria as well, like, they haven't always been defensively solid through the tournament so far, and they can leave themselves a little bit open at times. So hopefully it is something we can capitalize on. But then I suppose they're so good on the counter, and that's definitely a big danger for Ireland tomorrow. And then from set pieces as well, they're quite dangerous, similarly to ourselves. So yeah, it could be an interesting one for sure. And you'd hope that we can go home with more than 1 goal and more than 0 points on the board.
That's all we ask for. Okay, I think darkness is descending on you there. So we might be getting chilly, and your camera's getting blurry, so we might let you go. Thank you to Emma and to Anthony. Of course, you can watch the match on RT2 and the RT Player in the morning, as you can all the World Cup matches. You can listen to the Ireland match on 2FM, and you can follow it with our live blog even on the RT website and the news app. And we'll be back tomorrow with a pod reacting to Ireland's glorious 5-4 victory over Nigeria. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Emma. And we'll chat to you tomorrow. Good luck.
Supporter and a half likes, shares, comments and tweets. Cadbury sponsors RTE Soccer Women's World Cup podcast.